this video, I'm going to share a couple of point techniques where you dive into specific details or use techniques. A lot of these are found in the great book by Chris Voss, which is Never Split the Difference. But this first one, looking at times. When somebody mentions a time that they've done something or that they've made a change and they've started to do something, always dig in deep. There's an opportunity here. Why now? So let's have a look at Owen and see why June mattered to him, what we can learn from it.
You're looking down the pipe. You're like, okay, it's going to finish in December 24, or maybe sort of push on. This is June, I think you said, wasn't it? June this year?
Yeah.
Is there anything about June that's made you realise that, or are you always kind of planning 6 months down the line?
I think I was, just planning for the future. These things can take a lot of time. To get into a contract, to come up with a start date, I think that's around just what I was thinking at the time. Yeah, I thought 6 months is getting a little bit too close for comfort, and I would like to have a plan.
So in that example, Owen digs in deep on why the date matters. It's not so much that something happens in June. He's looking forward in time. He knows in his business it's going to take 6 months for him to get new contracts, and therefore he starts looking 6 months in advance. What this means for your marketing is that if you're going after a prospect or a customer like him, you've got to plan ahead. And if you're asking somebody where they are on the timeline, hey, if there's 6 months until his contract expires, this is going to be important to him now. The next technique we're going to look at is back with Julian, and this one is where we label things. So this is a technique from Never Split the Difference, labeling. In this case, I label this as high priority, and we'll see why this matters to him.
Well, so this is really top priority for you now, then, is it?
Yeah, it was. When the how to say? I don't know how to say in English. Yeah, I'm going to say it like that. The owner of the company has a very old-fashioned management, let's say, and when he wants something, you have to give him something.
So there you go. If you label something, then it causes somebody to have to respond. And sometimes they'll agree, sometimes they'll disagree, but they'll often embellish. The next one we'll look at is mirroring. So in this piece, I'm asking Owen about his employment situations. He's getting some entrepreneurship training. To start off with, it sounds like he's already working with somebody else. But when I use a technique by repeating, so you've got a company then he embellishes on that and explains what that company is and why it matters to this story.
Not a direct employee for the company, you're already kind of contracting?
Yeah, that company would hire the services from another company, an intermediary kind of agency, and my company would then invoice that company on a monthly basis based on the hours that I have worked for that client. Now, I do have a full-time contract. Essentially, they will contract 40 hours of my time per week for a full 12-month period. But essentially, it's a business-to-business agreement where my company, I already have a small little company, a personal service company, which invoices an employment agency who invoices that company then.
Okay. So you already have a company then?
Essentially, yeah, just for personal taxation purposes. I'm living in Ireland, so it's kind of the way things work here. It'd be quite common in the pharmaceutical industry for people to actually have their own company, essentially. But that's just to manage taxation and payroll.
So you can see there, that gave us additional insight into Owen's situation. He has got a company, but it's not like a real company that has employees and things like that. It's just purely for taxation purposes. And that sets the scene for the rest of the story of entrepreneurship training that he goes on. In the next one, I'm going to look at layering what and how questions. So I'm talking with a chap in South Africa who's a property management expert, and he's looking for operational efficiencies. But what does that actually mean? And how might I spot another customer that's struggling with it?
Then you're in one particular property and you're trying to understand the vendors, who's been in, when they've been there, and you're not getting the answer for a week, and then the answer's not satisfying. How does that relate to cost efficiency?
How does that?
How does that relate to cost efficiency? What is it about waiting for the answer and not being satisfied with the answer that that's bothering you, and why is it linked to cost efficiency?
Well, the thing is, because I couldn't track what was going on with that particular vendor, and I suspected maybe that vendor had sort of charged us for a service that has been a recurring issue. I felt that the answer that I was given by the facility manager didn't make sense to me. And because we don't track those sort of things with the manual system in terms of when someone came in, when they fixed an issue, if they've come in maybe 4 or 5 times in a year, what does that mean? Is that facility not working, or do we need to replace that, or is the service provider just billing us continuously over something that is properly maintained?
So you can see there how that opened him up, and he started to really explain what efficiency meant of people who might be ripping him off, or a complete lack of ability to track these things and therefore wasting time to try and investigate it. Another good technique that you can use is to dig in and ask somebody, what's the risk of something going wrong? So you've made the recommendation to do this inside. What are the risks to you? So let's check out what Barbara has to say here.
Okay, and what would be the risk then if you'd have, if you've hired them and they turned out that they were a dud? What would that mean for you?
For me, it's very bad because it looks me, as a weak executive in front of the board. So I really risk my reputation with them. That's why I'm hiring BCG, which knows what we're doing.
So we get in there, we hear the risk from Barbara and why she's chosen BCG there. In the next one, I'm going to give an example of something where you show a bit of humility, and I'll often say, this is going to be a really stupid question, something like that. And it defuses something that maybe it's a tricky subject, but by labeling it up front, you diffuse the bomb and you make it easier for the person to answer.
This might sound like my first stupid question of the day. Is that a lot of money?
For 4 weeks effort, no, it was not. It wasn't. I mean, it was reasonable. I would say it wasn't. It was reasonable. But Slalom itself is their consulting fees are pretty high.
So you can see there, he then opens up a bit about the pricing and price structure. Later on, I call myself stupid. This is going to be one of the most stupid questions you've been asked. Now let's see what that opens up and the answer that unpacks for us.
Look, Rafi, see, we're coming up at the end of the hour. I've asked probably some of the most chronically stupid questions you've been asked in your life. What would a smart man like yourself have asked about this? What have I missed about this story of Slalom's work that maybe I need to know?
I think one of the things that, this is something I want to add, is that Slalom is very ambitious. They want to have more opportunities within, they want to also get more projects at UCLA. So one of the things they did afterwards is they would email. So after Julie told me, I don't want to go with Slalom. Slalom is not, I'm not satisfied. I'm not comfortable with them. We said, okay, Julie, we can guarantee you we're not going to go with Slalom. So Slalom reaches out to me and say, and it's kind of to get an update about the project. And I told him, I said, this is the situation. Julie didn't really feel comfortable. We're not, we're kind of on hold for now. And we may, we may go with our central IT department. And then Slalom turns around and says, oh, I'm going to go and talk to the IT services department because they have a relationship with them. And see what's going on. And I had to stop, put the stop on that. And I said, please don't, because that's going to anger Julie.
Yeah.
Hopefully some of these tips and tricks are useful to you. I would absolutely get a copy of Never Split the Difference, study it back to front. I'll be sharing full interviews on here, so you'll be able to see how these interactions play out in real time. So take a look through these, practice these techniques, and you'll get better at interviewing yourself. Good luck.